Is the loss of Sammy Davis Jr., who died today at his Beverly Hills home. He was a man of so many parts and so many contradictions, all of them on display in a lifetime of public performing.
Near fatal shooting, but he couldn't survive a second. Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25. Here's NBC's Stan Bernard.
For centuries, even as science climbed to its highest peaks, humanity remains unable to explain mysterious spiritual phenomena. There are those who have directly seen the ghosts of the artists they adored, or moments where CCTV recorded a white shadow bearing the likeness of a deceased actor walking through a hallway. This isn't just folklore passed down through the years. It's a visceral testimony that leaves man's logic standing in silence. These are the encounters that shatter disbelief and forces even the most stubborn heart to question the very ground it stands on. Today, we come together to honor black icons long since passed, but we're doing it in a very different way. Prepare yourselves to behold the 11 restless spirits of black celebrities who truly never left. 1. Tupac Shakur, the ghost in white at Las Vegas. Tupac Shakur was not merely a rap legend, he was the most powerful voice of a generation in the 1990s. Yet that radiance was violently snuffed out on the night of September 7, 1996. After leaving a Mike Tyson boxing match, the car carrying Tupac was ambushed at a busy intersection in Las Vegas. 4 relentless bullets from a white Cadillac pierced the artist's body, taking his life at the young age of 25. Nearly 30 years have passed, but at the intersection of Koval Lane and Flamingo Road, the air still feels heavy with the lingering scent of gunpowder and the uneasy presence of a soul that refuses to move on. For decades, night shift taxi drivers and casino workers who walk these streets at 3 a.m. tell the same chilling story. They see a man standing silently where the shooting happened, dressed in a pristine white suit, the same outfit Tupac wore to play an angel in his final music video. He doesn't move, but just watches the passing traffic with deep, hollow eyes, as if waiting for the justice that has never come for an assassination shrouded in shadow. When the headlights of passing cars sweep directly over him, he vanishes instantly into thin air, leaving behind a wave of cold that bites to the bone. Credible witnesses, people with no reason to lie, insist this is no hallucination born of fatigue. It is a distinct physical presence, a pocket of energy trapped in a loop of that tragic night, playing back like a documentary of a death etched into the very fabric of the space. Paranormal investigators using digital recorders at the site have captured a voice cutting through the desert wind. Amidst the static, a deep, urgent voice whispers one word: run. The grit and authority in that voice are unmistakably Tupac's. It's a timeless warning crying out from the other side, proving that while they could take his life, they couldn't silence his spirit. Is this whisper a desperate attempt at self-defense from the past, or the lingering rage of a spirit that cannot find peace? As long as his case remains unsolved and the truth is hidden, Tupac refuses to move on. Tupac stands as a witness, reminding us that the light of a black genius can be snuffed out by violence, but his soul remains an undeniable truth. 2. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, the restless spirit of the Honduras jungle. Lisa Left Eye Lopez was the visionary fire of the legendary group TLC. But in April 2002, that fire was drawn toward a dark, inevitable end in the humid jungles of Honduras. It was a spiritual journey that turned into a terrifying countdown. Weeks before the tragedy, she spoke of an evil spirit hunting her, a shadow she felt but couldn't see. The mystery took a chilling turn when a vehicle she was in struck a local boy named Bayron Lopez. After he passed away, Lisa became consumed by the bone-chilling thought that the spirit had simply taken the wrong Lopez, and that she was the true target. Just days later, while driving a Mitsubishi Montero on a narrow stretch of highway in La Ceiba, Lisa attempted to overtake a truck, but as a vehicle approached from the opposite direction, she was forced to swerve sharply. The SUV flipped several times, striking 2 trees and snapping them in half. While 7 others in the car survived, Lisa was the only one whose life was claimed by the impact, a death so sudden and frantic that many believe her spirit never had the chance to realize it had left the physical world. Today, along that same roadside, residents there always speak of a faint, feminine silhouette seen wandering the thick brush near the crash site. She is not described as a vengeful ghost, but as a soul caught in a state of profound confusion, a lingering echo of an unfinished life. Witnesses claim to see her appearing lost, as if she is still searching for the friends who survived that day, or perhaps trying to find her way out of the very forest that fulfilled her darkest prophecy. Those who travel past that stretch of highway at sunset report a sudden, bone-deep chill and the unsettling feeling of being watched by someone who is still trying to find her way home. Lisa spent her life chasing deeper truths, and it seems her spirit is still wandering that jungle road, a permanent resident of the destiny she saw coming, unable to leave the scene of her final tragic accident. 3. Sam Cooke, the naked ghost of the Hacienda Motel. Sam Cooke was the undisputed king of soul, a man whose velvet voice defined an era of hope and change. But on December 11, 1964, that voice was silenced in a storm of violence and unanswered questions. Found at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles, Sam had been shot through the heart, discovered wearing nothing but a sport coat over his bare skin. This sudden, undignified end to a man of such immense stature created a psychic scar that the city of Los Angeles has never been able to erase. For decades, those living near the old Hacienda site have reported a man running frantically through the shadows, semi-naked and draped only in a sport coat, his fists pounding on invisible doors in a state of pure panic and desperateness for help that never came. The proof isn't found only in the sightings, but in the sounds that pierce the 3 a.m. stillness. Neighbors report the sharp crack of a gunshot, followed by a gut-wrenching cry, "Lady, you shot me!" Those were the final words Sam Cooke spoke on this earth, and they continue to vibrate through the night air of south-central Los Angeles, as if the atmosphere itself refuses to let the moment die. But one has to wonder, could the sheer force of that final panicked heartbeat have left an imprint so deep that time itself cannot wash it away? Is Sam truly lost in a loop of his own tragedy? Or is the ground of Los Angeles simply refusing to bury a secret that died with him in that cold motel room? 4. Redd Foxx, the comedian who never left the stage. Redd Foxx was our king of comedy, the man who made us roar for years as Fred Sanford. But on October 11, 1991, his final act was a tragedy no one saw coming. During a rehearsal, Redd collapsed from a massive heart attack. The cast and crew laughed, thinking he was performing his famous "Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you" routine. By the time they realized it wasn't a joke, the legend was gone. However, his Las Vegas home seems to prove that for Redd Foxx, the show must go on, even from the other side. The new owner, Jesse Garrone, soon discovered he wasn't living alone in that house. It started with lights flickering in a steady rhythm and the garage door opening and closing on its own as if an invisible car were arriving home. But the haunting became personal one night when Garron felt his blanket being slowly tugged off his body while he slept. In the dead silence of the room, he heard it, that signature raspy cackle that could only belong to Redd Foxx. Does a personality that large simply refuse to be silenced by the grave? Is Redd still playing pranks on the living, looking for one more laugh in a house that still vibrates with his energy? Perhaps he isn't there to terrify, but to remind us that even in the afterlife, he remains the funniest man in the room, forever waiting for his next audience. Do you hear that raspy laugh in the shadows? It's a reminder that some spirits stay behind just to keep us on our toes. Shall we move to our next file, the tragic whistle under the water of the next black legend? 5. Michael Jackson, the eternal resident of Neverland. The world stood still on June 25, 2009, when we lost the king of pop, Michael Jackson, a global phenomenon who spent his life building a private kingdom called Neverland Ranch, a sanctuary where he could finally escape the flashbulbs and the judgment of the world. But as the gates of Neverland closed following his tragic passing, it seems the master of the house never actually checked out. On the evening of July 2, 2009, just 1 week after the world lost the King of Pop, the eyes of millions were fixed on their television screens for a special broadcast of Larry King Live. The air was thick with a collective grief that felt almost physical, and the setting was as grand as it was lonely. The sprawling, silent acres of Neverland Ranch in Santa Barbara. As Jermaine Jackson sat down to speak with Larry, a camera crew was permitted to walk through the hollowed-out heart of Michael's sanctuary, capturing a house that had suddenly become a museum of a life cut short. It manifested right before the high-definition, unblinking gaze of a professional CNN news crew during that live tour. As the camera panned across a long, sunlit hallway near the grand fireplace, a space Michael once filled with laughter and music, a distinct, slender shadow glided with startling speed from one side of the corridor to the other. There was a weight to that shadow that defied logic. It moved with a haunting, liquid smoothness, a dancer's unmistakable grace, before seemingly passing straight through the solid wood and stone at the end of the hallway. For those of us who spent decades watching Michael move, the profile was heart-stoppingly familiar. The thin frame, the specific rhythmic gait. It was as if the King of Pop was taking one final silent moonwalk through the only place on earth where he ever truly felt safe from the storms of the world. This was raw, live television, broadcast in real time to homes across the country. Michael Jackson had fought with everything he had to keep Neverland his own, and the footage suggests that even in death he remains the silent master of the house, forever wandering the corridors of the private dream world he refused to leave behind. 6. Donny Hathaway, the shadow in room 15. 08. Donny Hathaway possessed a voice of pure velvet, but his mind was a battlefield. On a bitter January night in 1979, the music stopped when he fell from the 15th floor of the Essex House Hotel in New York City. He was found on the sidewalk below, still wearing his favorite leather jacket. While the world called it a tragedy, the walls of the Essex House began to whisper a much darker truth. Donny Hathaway never truly left that room. In the early 2000s, when the hotel upgraded its security, the monitors captured something that sent chills through the staff. On the 15th floor feed, a slender, dark silhouette was seen standing perfectly still by the window of room 15. 08. He was wearing that same leather jacket. He wasn't moving or trying to jump. He was simply staring out at the city, a permanent fixture in a room that should have been empty. But the most terrifying evidence came from the investigators who brought multi-frequency recorders into that 15th floor hallway, expecting maybe a stray musical note. Instead, they caught a soul-piercing scream that sounded like a man's spirit breaking in two. They are in the walls. During his life, Donny suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, constantly claiming that men in white coats were hunting him from inside the architecture itself. The EVP recordings prove a chilling reality. Those entities weren't just in his head. They were real, and they are still there, pinning his soul to that room. Even today, guests staying on the 15th floor will call down to the front desk at 3 a.m. complaining about the sound of an electric piano coming from 1508, the exact time of night Donny used to sit up and write his hits. When the staff goes to check it, the room is empty, but the air inside is always a good 15 degrees colder than the rest of the floor. That cold air in room 1508 isn't just a draft, it's the heavy, undeniable fingerprint of a black man who gave us his heart but couldn't escape his own shadows. It's a chilling reminder that our legends don't always leave when the song ends. They stay in the very places where they fought their hardest battles, refusing to let the world move on until their truth is finally understood. 7. Sammy Davis Jr., The Last Dance at the Friars Club. Sammy Davis Jr. was the ultimate showman, a man of rhythm, grace, and an ironclad cool that defined the Rat Pack era. But for Sammy, the final curtain call didn't happen when he passed away in 1990. In 2009, at the historic Friars Club in New York, a place where he spent his most legendary nights, the building's security system captured a performance that wasn't on the schedule. Late one night, after the club had been locked tight, the security guards noticed movement on the monitors. On the flickering screen, a slender, familiar silhouette appeared on the empty wooden stage. It was a man with the exact build of Sammy, holding a cigarette and seemingly chewing gum, his unmistakable trademarks. Then the silence of the club was shattered. The microphones picked up the sharp, rhythmic click-clack of metallic tap shoes striking the floor. This wasn't a shadow or a trick of the light. The audio was crystal clear. A complex, high-speed tap routine performed by someone who wasn't physically there. The cameras showed the floor was vacant, yet the sound of those shoes was so heavy and deliberate that it felt as if the wood might splinter. Does a man who lived his life in the spotlight simply refuse to let the stage go dark? Many believe Sammy's spirit remains tethered to the places where he felt most alive. This isn't just a ghost story, it's a recording of a soul that is still on even when the audience is gone. It proves that for a black legend like Sammy Davis Jr., the dance doesn't end just because the body does. He's still up there, hitting every beat, waiting for the applause that will never fade. 8. Bessie Smith, the Empress in the Hospital Hallway. In 1937, the Empress of the Blues, Bessie Smith, met a nightmarish end on a dark Mississippi road, a tragedy that would leave her spirit forever restless. After the horrific crash, she was taken to the Afro-American Hospital in Clarksdale, the only place that would take us in back then. She died there from blood loss, and today, that building is known as the Riverside Hotel. In the very room where she spent her final hours, guests don't just stay the night. They share it with a lingering sorrow. In the dead of night, the silence is broken by a low, mournful moan or the faint melody of a blues song drifting from the corners of the room. It isn't a record playing. It's the sound of a woman in pain, still waiting for the help that arrived too late. The most chilling sight, however, is in the hallways. Witnesses have reported a tall, regal woman dressed in elegant furs and jewelry, walking slowly through the shadows. She doesn't look at you. She looks through you, her face etched with a sadness that time cannot wash away. She is the picture of grace, even in death, but she carries the bone-deep chill of that cold hospital bed with her. Does a soul stay behind when the world fails them in their hour of need? Many believe Bessie is a lingering witness to an era of injustice. She remains a physical presence in that building, a reminder that the Empress of the Blues refuses to be silenced by a tragedy that should have never happened. Her spirit is still there, walking those floors, ensuring that we never forget the price she paid. 9. Florence Ballard, the Forgotten Rose, Seeking Justice. In 1976, Florence Ballard died penniless in a rundown Detroit apartment at just 32 years old. After being pushed out of the spotlight she helped build, Flo's life ended in a quiet storm of poverty and depression. But in that small Detroit flat, the silence has been replaced by a spirit that is finally ready to speak its truth. In 2016, a team of paranormal investigators brought an Ovilus 5, a device that turns environmental energy into words, to the room where she took her last breath. When they asked the darkness, "Who took your career?" the device didn't just glitch. It spat out a chilling, deliberate sequence of words that felt like a courtroom indictment. Contract, stolen, voice, girls. But the most bone-chilling proof came from the multi-track recorders. They captured a sound that history tried to bury. A high-octave, powerful hum that vibrated with the exact soulful range Florence was famous for. It was the vocal weapon that the industry suppressed to make other, more palatable stars shine brighter. And it was still echoing in that empty room. Is it possible that a spirit so vibrant simply cannot wither in the frost of injustice? Florence Ballard stays not out of anger, but as a graceful guardian of her own story. In the stillness of the night, the forgotten rose is still blooming, a soft, ethereal presence in the shadows, waiting for the gentle hand of justice to finally bring her the peace she was denied in life. 10. Otis Redding, the phantom whistle of Lake Monona. Otis Redding left us in a jagged heap of metal and heartbreak on December 10, 1967. His plane plunged into the icy depths of Lake Monona, Wisconsin, just miles from the runway. He was gone at only 26, leaving his masterpiece sitting on the dock of the bay, unfinished. But for a spirit as powerful as Otis, it seems a frozen lake was not enough to silence his song. Decades after that dark day, Lake Monona still holds a secret that defies every law of science. Researchers using high-sensitivity underwater microphones called hydrophones at the exact site of the crash expected to hear nothing but the dull movement of water. Instead, they captured something that stopped their hearts: the clear, haunting melody of the whistle from the dock of the bay. This wasn't a flat, mechanical loop. When analyzed, the audio revealed a living, breathing performance, full of natural pauses and the rhythmic rise and fall of a man taking a breath. It sounds as if Otis is still sitting there beneath the dark waves, finally finishing the song he never got to complete in the light of day. Is it possible that a soul this great refuses to leave because he still owes his people one last note? Or has Lake Monona become a permanent dock where his energy remains tethered to the very moment he was taken? Even in the depths of the coldest water, the King of Soul is still singing for those who are willing to listen, to remind us that his music and his spirit will never fall out of time. 11. Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Soul's final echo. On April 1, 1984, just 24 hours before his 45th birthday, the world lost the Prince of Soul in a tragedy too dark for any script. Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his own father in their Los Angeles home after a bitter argument. It was a violent end to a life of velvet music, but 30 years later, investigators discovered that the house still holds the vibrations of that final, shattered day. When paranormal investigator Zach Bagans entered the home in 2014, he described an atmosphere so heavy it felt like walking through water. In the very bedroom where Marvin fell, thermal cameras suddenly flared with a deep purple mass, a pocket of bone-chilling cold that stood perfectly still. The energy wasn't a random blur. It was a tall, broad-shouldered silhouette that matched Marvin's powerful frame exactly. But the most heart-wrenching evidence came when they asked the darkness if Marvin still held a grudge against his father. Through the static of the recording equipment, a long, weary sigh filled the room, followed by a faint, ghostly whisper, "I'm sorry, Dad." It wasn't a cry of anger, but a soul still carrying a heavy burden of regret, trapped in a loop of a family tragedy that never found its peace. The haunting reached its peak when the team mentioned his masterpiece, What's Going On? In the corner of the living room, a single low note rang out from an old piano that hadn't been touched in years. Vibration sensors on the keys confirmed a physical force had pressed down, the weight of a phantom finger searching for one last chord. Marvin Gaye remains a prisoner of the very walls that witnessed his final violent betrayal, eternally anchored to the floor where his father's bullet silenced him just before his birthday. Is Marvin Gaye's soul still lingering to guard the home, or is he a prisoner of the shadows, forever trying to finish a song of reconciliation? Is Marvin Gaye a haunting presence in the home that became his mausoleum, staying behind to guard the family he left too soon? Or is he simply a prisoner of the shadows, forever searching for the mercy and the reconciliation he was denied on that final tragic birthday? When the stage lights fade and the echoes of applause drift into the distance of the past, we often find ourselves asking, what truly remains when the legends go away? Through the cold flicker of security footage and those lonely whistles rising from the frozen heart of a lake, the answer seems to have made itself clear. Those souls haven't just vanished. They have simply moved into another form of being, stronger, more persistent, and far more restless than the life they left behind. If you found these stories worth exploring, hit like and subscribe to join us as guardians of these sacred legacies. Tell us which of these restless spirits calls to you most, or whose shadows shall we dare to awaken next.